Good morning and welcome to John Beck. This is your principal, Mr. Lin, and I hope that you had a wonderful Wednesday yesterday. Today is Thursday, January 12th, 2023, and it is a day D. And for instrumentals, it is a day 6. Now, before we kick off this wonderful day, I want to invite you, as I always do, to please stand and face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Go ahead and take a seat. I'm so happy that you're here at school. It's nice to continue to see you breathe life into this school. It's great to know that so many of you guys are coming to school making that decision to be respectful and responsible and ready. And we are seeing that. That's amazing. And for those of you guys who are still struggling at it, I think it's important that you know that you should at least be trying, right? That's pretty important as well. All right, let's jump into our menu for the day. We've got 4 choices for lunch. We'll pull it up real quick here. All right. So your first choice is the mac and cheese with a whole grain pretzel rod. Choice 2 is the Warrior Munchie meal. Choice 3 for kindergarten through 2nd grade, it's the lunchbox meal with turkey. And then for 3rd through 6th grade, it's the turkey sandwich meal. Last but not least, as always, choice 4 is the sun butter sandwich. All right, as I already alluded to, and as you already know, we have 3 expectations here at the school. Number 1, show that you're respectful. Number 2, show that you're responsible. And number 3, show that you are showing that you're ready. And that's really important for you to do it to others. You've already heard me say that. And you are probably predicting that I'm going to tell you to make sure to respect yourself too. Show responsibility towards yourself and show that you are ready, right? Ready to do the hard stuff, ready to not give up. Speaking of responsibility, I do want to tap into our character trait for January, which is self-discipline. You already know that. And that is practicing the discipline of not doing things that you shouldn't be doing, right? We all saw, if you attended the assembly, how hard it was for those kids not to touch the marshmallow, even if they knew that if they just waited a little bit longer, they might get another marshmallow. Get 2 instead. All they had to do was wait. It's hard to do it, okay? And we saw those kids struggle with it. And there are other many moments in our lives, my life, your life, where that self-discipline can be really hard. And you either have to do what you need to do or not do what you shouldn't do. And guys, here's a classic example. Maybe somebody's rubbed you the wrong way and you're really upset at them and you feel like you want to say something to them. But what you're going to say to them might use words that are actually hurtful. And maybe you have a reason to be upset, but do you really have the right to say those hurtful words? I think deep down inside, you know, you shouldn't. But it's hard. I know it. I know it because I saw kids doing it as recently as yesterday. Okay? And the question is, can you pause? Take that breath in through your nose, hold it in your belly and let it out and say, you know what? There are better ways to deal with these things. And then show the self-discipline to do it that way instead. Right? And guys, kids, it's important too that you expect that respect from others, from your friends, from your peers. Yes, even your teachers. Right? It's important too that your teachers don't write you off. They don't assume that you're a bad kid and then just assume that for the rest of your life, right? We like to think our teachers don't do that, and they don't. And I think it's important that if they're offering you that kind of grace, then you're going to make sure that you offer it up to others, okay? That's where respect comes from. This is where we get to exchange that respect back and forth. And responsibility for who you are, what you stand for, and hopefully you're standing for all the right things in our world. And same thing, and finally being respectful. All right, now I have no major announcements for today. For those of you guys who are in chorus after school today, I hope that you have already gone ahead and reminded your families that your pickup time is at 4 today after school, not at your normal 3:30. I've reminded you guys over the last 2 days, and I hope that you have actually gone and reminded your parents so that they don't come too early or they don't come too late. We want you to be picked up at the right time. That way we could let the grown-ups like Miss Horton, continue with the rest of their day. They deserve that too. Okay, that's respectful. This day in history, back earlier this week, there was the College Football National Championship, right? And for some of you guys, you may have seen that it was a pretty interesting game. It was probably not the most exciting because Georgia, the University of Georgia, basically took down TCU, Texas Christian University, pretty easily. It really wasn't a contest. It was a beatdown, to say the least. Okay, which got me thinking about this sport of football. Recently I talked about baseball, the curse of the Bambino, and things like that. But, football is a pretty American sport. It's one of the most popular sports to watch here in the United States, but really isn't all that popular around the rest of the world. But a lot of it was invented here in America, which makes sense. If it was invented here, that's probably where it's going to be very popular to watch. And over time, it has great fanfare and pageantry, with college football. If you're a big Penn State fan like me, you know what I'm talking about. If you're an Eagles fan, you know what I'm talking about. I'm a Steelers fan, you know what I'm talking about. If Miss Allen in the main office, she's a Baltimore Ravens fan. She knows what I'm talking about. Football is a pretty exciting sport for many of us. And one of the most exciting parts about football is seeing that quarterback go back a few steps and then launch and throw that pass down the field. It's one of the cool parts about that game, football. But what I don't think many of you guys know is that when American football was first invented, it was actually against the rule to throw the ball forward. In fact, football looked very much like this other sport called rugby. And rugby is kind of like football, except before you get tackled, you're supposed to pass the ball either to your side or backwards. But if you throw it to someone who's even an inch forward, that's actually against the rule. So there's a lot of backward passes and things like that. And that's something you might actually see as a trick play in football. But earlier on, when football was first invented, that was the only way you could pass the ball, was to pass it backwards and let someone run towards the touchdown. Believe it or not, in the early 1900s, it actually, first of all, padding wasn't all that protective, and because people were passing backwards, they weren't always looking forward. And when you get tackled and you don't expect it, you could be injured. And believe it or not, there were actually people, because the padding wasn't great, people weren't looking where they were going when they were getting tackled as much. Not only were there a lot of injuries in football, but people actually were getting killed in football. They were dying on the football field because their injuries were that bad. It got so bad that the president at the time, Theodore Roosevelt, threatened to make football illegal unless there were some changes. So one of the changes on this day, January 12th, back in 1906, the forward pass was made legal. The quarterback could make one forward pass. And in this case, this allowed the quarterback to look forward where the opponent is coming at him. And it also spread out the football players so they weren't all clumped and running into each other. So that helped make football a little bit more safe. And for you and me who like to watch football, it also made football a little bit more exciting. Now, there were a lot of other changes to football over the years, but legalizing and making it allowed to throw the football forward kind of made American football very unique. Made it different than that sport rugby, made it different than even soccer. So just thought that would be interesting for those of you guys who play football. That's a little bit of football history. For those of you guys who enjoy watching and rooting on your favorite teams, well, now you know a little bit more about that sport. All right, look, if you haven't heard it from me, I want you to hear it from me now. I love you, the whole sentence. I care about you, and I'm here to encourage you. Guys, You guys continue to do a great job telling me that. I was talking to a mom yesterday who just loved the fact that her kid keeps telling her love, care, and encourage. That's awesome. But don't just use the words. You got to do the other part. Doing it, showing it. What does love look like? What does care look like? What does encouragement look like? And then don't be afraid. Go do it. All right? I can't wait to see you guys around. Have an amazing Thursday.